Not all darts legends began their journeys under arena lights, surrounded by roaring crowds and flashing cameras. Some started in the most ordinary of places, with nothing more than a worn dartboard, a cold pint, and the quiet encouragement of family. That was exactly the case for Nathan Aspinall, who was just 16 when he stepped into a nearby pub alongside his dad and granddad. These two men had spent years side by side at the Oki, not chasing glory or trophies, but simply playing for the love of the game. Then came the night that kick-started the journey to greatness. For the first time, Aspinall picked up a dart. No pressure, just a simple throw, one that eventually set something massive in motion. He practiced until he wasn't just playing for fun, he was good enough to take on the pub regulars and beat them. From that point on, it was clear, the fire had been lit. By 2012 and 2013, Aspinall was testing the waters in the PDC development and challenge tours. He played hard, but the results were nothing like the hard work he put in. Still, he kept going. Determined to chase his dreams, Aspinall stepped into Q School for the very first time. He was chasing a dream that had grown louder with every throw and every night spent watching his heroes on the big stage. It was his shot, his chance to go pro, to earn a tour card, and to finally prove that the boy from Stockport had what it took to stand among the best. But dreams don't always listen to timelines, and despite the hunger and the heart he poured into that attempt, he walked away empty-handed, without a card or contract. When the door to the thing you want most slams shut before you've even stepped through it, what do? Most people take that as a sign to walk away, but Aspinall didn't. He reassessed and searched for another way forward because giving up simply wasn't his thing. Surprisingly, that search led him down a very different path, one that had nothing to do with flights, trebles, or checkouts. He made the decision to join the army, hoping that a new kind of discipline and direction would offer the structure he needed when his darting future felt uncertain. Having completed basic training, Aspinall pushed himself through the physical and mental grind and even began to picture a future in the army, away from the Oki. But just as it seemed like life was finally moving forward, everything came to a sudden halt. A medical report brought his military journey to an end before it had the chance to truly begin, and with this came a quiet realization. If the army had worked out, darts would have been left behind for good. But fate, as it turns out, wasn't finished with the budding star. After his army hopes were cut short, Aspinall, popularly known as the Asp, found himself right back where he started, but this time without a clear direction. While the dream was still there, the resources were limited. It got so intense that the dream was beginning to feel out of reach, and then the unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, help came. The landowner of Nathan's local pub, a man who had watched him grow up, throw darts, and chase this impossible thing with passion, stepped in and made an offer that would change everything. He told Nathan to go back to Q School to try again, but he didn't stop there. He did something only a few people would ever do. He offered to cover the £450 entry fee himself. It wasn't a loan, it was a gift, one Aspinall would never forget. At that moment, a whole new chapter began to unfold, because that decision sparked by someone else's belief turned out to be the turning point his career had been waiting for. Armed with a tour card, Nathan finally stepped into the professional arena, not as a hopeful outsider, but as someone who had earned his place and was ready to prove it. His first year wasn't filled with trophies or headlines, but it was packed with lessons and experiences that fostered his growth. At the UK Open, he broke through to the last 32, showing flashes of the talent and toughness that had carried him this far. The Pro Tour tested him and pushed him, but much more, it made him better. Yet, it was on the development tour where he really began to find his rhythm. There, the pace was different. Beyond the pace, his confidence was building. He even managed to take home a title, something that confirmed what he'd known deep down all along. He belonged here. Then came the grand moment, the 2015 World Youth Championship that changed how others saw him. In a tightly fought final against Germany's Max Hopp, Aspinall played his heart out across 11 tense legs, with everything coming down to a single, nerve-shredding decider. He lost the match, but what mattered more was what he revealed in the process. Because that night, under the pressure of the moment and the weight of expectation, Nathan didn't fold, he fought. And in doing so, he proved to everyone watching that he wasn't just another name on the bracket. He was a contender, a threat, and he was only just getting started.
Well, I'm sure those two up there are feeling it. I'm sure their families are feeling it. This is a massive finish. He's taken out 90. Can he take out 101 to be champion? He can't believe it. Neither can Dad.
Marks you require 10. Incredible finale to the World Youth Final. And Max Hopp of Germany is the PDC Unicorn World Youth Champion for 2015.
The journey to success is never without its highs and lows. Just when Aspinall's hopes started rising, 2016 brought a tough time. He struggled to play well and his confidence dropped. He played in many events but won very little, sometimes nothing at all. It got so bad that by the end of the year, he lost his tour card. Aspinall cried for days. At this point, he began to feel like a failed professional in front of his family and friends. The thought of giving up was more real than ever. His dream seemed to be over. He tried again in 2017, but failed. Despite the many challenges, Aspinall didn't quit. After a year of trying to get his confidence back, he returned strong and even got his professional status back. Then came the toughest decision the player had probably ever made. Aspinall quit his steady job to play darts full-time. This was a huge risk, especially with a young family. Though his managers helped him financially, the message was clear: perform well or lose everything. And Aspinall, he didn't flinch. Later that same year, Aspinall truly hit rock bottom. He had just £20 to his name. There was no backup plan, no safety net, just one chance. He showed up at the Pro Tour that weekend with everything on the line: his career, his pride, and his future. What he did next was incredible. He played the best darts of his life and won his first Pro Tour title, claiming a £10,000 reward. This was more than a win, it was a lifeline. In that moment, everything changed. His game became sharper, his mind stronger, and his resolve unbreakable. By the time Aspinall made his debut at the World Championship, he was a different man. He wasn't just chasing wins, he walked in with fire in his eyes and purpose in his step. In the first round, Geert Nentjes didn't stand a chance. Aspinall delivered a clean sweep, not dropping a single set. Then came Gerwyn Price, the Grand Slam champion and a true powerhouse. It nearly ended before it began, with Price holding a match dart for the bullseye. He missed. That was all Aspinall needed. From the edge of defeat, he mounted a stunning comeback and beat Price.
94, going to reward 94.
They went for double 18 tops.
54.
And now Nathan Aspinall for the match to stun the Grand Slam champion.
Well, he can't do it now, and that's why he's laughing. 65 and at least 46, so he can set up just about any double he likes.
79.
That'll be double 16.
$40.
But Gerwyn has this great chance to get out, and that's a really tight dart. Double 10, double 5 to stay alive. He does it.
35.
Incredible. The pressure has got to Price. The World Championship of shocks has just produced arguably the biggest shock of all, the Grand Slam champion.
From there, momentum carried him. He beat Kyle Anderson, dispatched Devon Peterson, and outplayed Brendan Dolan, marching all the way to the semi-final on his debut. Just 6 months earlier, he had only £20 in his bank account. Now, he walked away with £100,000 in prize money and a permanent spot in the conversation. He wasn't just some ordinary dart player anymore. He had now become a force. With the prize came more than financial stability. It came with unshakable belief. Heading into 2019, Aspinall was no longer an underdog. He was a serious contender. He kicked off the year with a Premier League contender spot. Then came the call for the World Series of Darts in Las Vegas. Going from local pub floors to the bright lights of Vegas was surreal. But for Aspinall, it wasn't just about showing up. It was about proving he belonged, and that's exactly what he did. That same year, in Minehead, he achieved what many thought impossible. He clinched his first ranking major title. The experience that weekend changed everything for Aspinall, not just because he walked away with a trophy, but because he silenced every lingering doubt about whether his World Championship run had been a one-off fairy tale. This was the moment he stood before the darting world and declared with every throw that he wasn't here to make up the numbers, he was here to stay. The path to glory that weekend was anything but easy. It was a mixture of grit, pressure and precision as he battled his way past a stacked lineup that included Tony Alcinas, Christian Kist, Mados Razma, Steve Lennon, Ross Smith and once again Gerwin Price, before setting up a high-stakes showdown with Rob Cross in the final. In that match, where the lights burned brighter and the air was thick with tension, Aspinall didn't just compete, he performed, and when it mattered most, he produced the moment of the tournament, taking out the highest checkout of the weekend to snatch victory from the hands of a hungry Rob Cross, denying him his first UK Open crown in dramatic fashion. And then it happened. As the final dart found its mark, the arena erupted, and Nathan Aspinall, the working-class lad who had bet everything on one last throw of the dice, collapsed into a raw, tearful embrace of pure disbelief. He stood there, overwhelmed, wiping away tears on stage, the weight of years of struggle, doubt, and sacrifice washing over him. He truly couldn't believe what he had just done.
It's like Rob's knows the game's up, but still work to do.
Still got to get across the finishing line.
Toughest leg of the whole tournament here. Aspinall is on throw. One leg away. The connotations in winning this are massive.
100.
And not just financial, I mean, it's psychological. You've
Yes.
got players who go through entire careers and come so close. Think of Terry Jenkins, think of Dave Chisnell, you know, I mean, they're hugely talented
Absolutely.
players who just haven't quite got across the line.
Just not happened for him. And that's it, that's the strange old thing. And Dennis Priestley said to me once, if your name's not on Botbad, it ain't happening. We see it in so many other sports, John, don't we? It's not just not darts. Jimmy White with snooker.
Colin Montgomery with golf.
93.
Rob hanging in there, but it's still advantage Aspinall in the leg which could bring him the UK Open.
60.
Well, he's on 170. That'll be a spectacular way to take it. Colin Lloyd's done it to win a major.
95.
So
Ted Hankey.
yeah.
107.
BDO Worlds.
There's one. There's two.
It was a match that would echo through his career for years to come, and to this day, Aspinall hails that weekend was the greatest achievement of his career, not just because of the title, but because it marked the transformation of a player once clinging to his last £20 into a champion who had earned the respect of an entire sport. With the UK Open crown now etched into his name, Nathan Aspinall wasn't just chasing rankings, he was chasing legacy. His breakout performance opened big doors. Not long after the big win, Aspinall earned debut appearances at the World Match Play and the World Grand Prix, two battlegrounds where reputations are built or broken under the unforgiving glare of TV cameras. The Match Play proved challenging. He couldn't quite find the rhythm to push deep into the draw. But in the Grand Prix, a different story. He battled his way to the quarterfinals, showing that his fire wasn't just a flash, it had staying power. And while the tail end of the season wasn't sprinkled with fairy tales, early exits at the Grand Slam, the European Championship and the Players' Championship finals, it hardly mattered, because the ladder he was climbing had barely begun. With little prize money to defend, he wasn't treading water, he was sprinting forward. Then came Las Vegas. Bright lights, big names, and one more opportunity to silence any lingering doubts. Fresh off his career-defining win in Minehead, Aspinall touched down in the US Darts Masters in Las Vegas with one goal: prove it wasn't a fluke. What happened next was nothing short of a darting masterclass. He breezed past Sean Brenneman, took out former world champion Rob Cross, outplayed the colourful Peter Wright. Then, he dismantled Michael Smith in the final, averaging a jaw-dropping 106. The crowd roared, the world watched, the message was clear: Aspinall had arrived.
Another dart. Match dart at tops.
42. Mike Learnwile on 100.
To stay in it. Smith's been brilliant. Absolutely majestic. But Nathan Aspinall has produced one of the performances of his life.
160.
Stands on the verge in Vegas.
Nathan Aspinall, just a week or so before turning 28, has produced brilliance in Las Vegas. Even Michael Smith applauds. On his World Series debut, he has swept aside all before.
But there was still one stage left, the one that haunted and inspired in equal measure, Alexandra Palace. He returned to the Ali Pali not as a wide-eyed newcomer, but as a two-time major winner and World Series champion. The pressure was unimaginable, the expectations were sky high, and once again, Aspinall delivered. In what turned out to be another magical World Championship run, he marched back to the semi-finals for the second consecutive year. He saw off the gritty Daniel Baggish, took down the relentless Krzysztof Ratajski. Then, he stunned two titans, Gary Anderson and Dimitri van den Berg. 2 years, 2 semi-finals, 2 tales of resilience. But in both stories, the final chapter would be written by the same man, Michael van Gerwen, world number 1, ice in his veins. And this time, the Dutchman proved too strong. Still, Aspinall walked off that stage with his head held high. Because once again, he'd proven something not just to the world, but to himself. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. Yet the story was far from over. Later that year, Aspinall wasn't just playing, he was climbing fast. Aspinall had muscled his way into the top 8 in the world rankings. In a sport where legends like Michael van Gerwen and Gary Anderson dominate headlines, Aspinall was writing a new script. One built on grit, belief, and blistering averages. And just when you thought his rise couldn't get more electric, boom, he gets the Premier League call-up, one of only 8 players selected. That alone is a badge of honour. But he didn't stop there. He was back on the World Series tour too. The stage lights were on, and Aspinall was ready for his close-up. Then came the fireworks, a Pro Tour title, a jaw-dropping 117 average, and, perhaps the most satisfying chapter so far, a victory over Van Gerwen in the Premier League. The same Van Gerwen who once looked unbeatable, not that night, not against Aspinall. You see, what makes Aspinall's journey so magnetic isn't just the wins, it's what he had to survive to get there. He's the guy who almost let go, who nearly faded into the shadows of what could have been, and yet here he is, not just surviving, but storming the spotlight. It all came down to one final shot, one last gamble. He emptied what was left of his savings to give it a real go, a proper run at the tour. If it didn't work, he'd pack it in and get a regular job. And then came the UK Open. That win, it wasn't just a trophy, it was survival. It was the moment everything changed, the moment the sacrifices finally meant something, the moment a man who almost gave up found out he belonged. Looking back now, Aspinall still talks about how close he was to calling it quits. "I was done," he said more than once. "I was ready to give up, but I thought, just one more go, one more year, and thank God I did." Aspinall's story points us to one thing. Sometimes, the greatest triumphs are born from the moments we were closest to throwing in the towel. And now, when he steps on stage, he doesn't just carry darts in his hand, he carries every near miss, every doubt, every sleepless night. And when that crowd roars, it echoes the truth. Nathan Aspinall bet on himself, and he won.